Prison's a bad place, full of death and hatred and pain and misery. Nobody cares whether or not you're innocent.
And Kirk Bloodsworth was innocent and facing the gas chamber.
Being accused of killing a small child is the worst thing in the world a person could be accused of and be innocent of. And I had it all. And it was the most horrible feeling I ever felt in my life.
Kirk's story begins back in 1984. That summer, a little Maryland girl was brutally raped and murdered in the woods near her home. Two boys gave police a description of the man they saw in the area. This man.
It just spiraled out of control from there. It turned into a snowball. An avalanche fell right on top of me.
Kirk had recently moved to Baltimore, and when police released the sketch of the killer, his new neighbor called police.
When he shined a light in my face and he said, "Step outside, Mr. Bloodsworth, with pistols drawn. You're under arrest for first-degree murder of Dawn Venice Hamilton, you SOB."
It would take Kirk almost a decade to become a free man again.
If there was anything that could go wrong in a criminal case, it went wrong in mine.
After strong witness testimony, the jury deliberated for only 2.5 hours before sealing Kirk's fate as a child killer. At 22 years old, he was sentenced to death.
The courtroom erupted in applause. Give him the gas and kill his ass. This is what was said in the back behind me.
He now faced the rest of his days waiting to die in a tiny death row cell he shared with rats and roaches.
I used to have to take wads of toilet paper and stick them in my ears so they wouldn't lay eggs. And, but this was my life now.
But in the darkness of his cell, he found something. A book. A book which would become Kirk's ticket to freedom.
The epiphany I had can only be described as the gates of heaven opening up to me on this world.
The Blooding documents how investigators linked a couple of murders in England to one killer. They did it for the first time with a new genetic test on evidence, a technique using deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA.
My thing is if it could convict you, why can't it free you?
Kirk got permission to have DNA testing done on Dawn Hamilton's clothing. But with only 2 labs in the country at that point able to perform the science, the process took another year. A painfully long year as Kirk's mother, his hero, grew sick.
Emotions. I got a 9-year-old little girl and I'm trying to find out who killed her. I'm trying to free myself and my mother passes away.
The one person who always believed in him never heard the news. Kirk's DNA did not match. He could not be the killer. June 28, 1993.
8 years, 11 months, and 19 days is how long I was there.
Kirk Bloodsworth walked out of prison a free man. The first death row inmate to ever be exonerated by DNA.
Even though this is a small victory for me to prove my innocence, the real killer is still out there. And all this won't be complete until the real one is behind bars.
It would take another decade before that happened. The same DNA evidence that cleared Kirk convicted Kimberly Ruffner, who by then was already behind bars for another attempted rape and murder.
We had caught Dawn Hamilton's killer. Justice has prevailed.
For a man who should be bitter, even filled with hatred, Kirk Bloodsworth has found peace. And now, living here in Boise, he says a quote by Anne Frank echoes his feelings. In spite of everything,
I think people are good at heart. And if Anne Frank can think so about some of the people she dealt with in her life, I can certainly think so too.